Hello.
Hi.
We'll obviously go through the processing aspect, the breathwork meditation aspect of this journey, and we'll also go through the logistical stuff. I'll talk about my breathwork facilitation, and Patricia will talk about the logistical aspect. Patricia has a lot of experience in Indonesia. She lived there for many years. She speaks the language, and she'll be running the logistical side and interpreting for us, and has a good insight into Indonesian culture. So that'll also be really not only deep insights for us, but it'll also just help us navigate the way. So thank you, Patricia, for helping getting this going and for making this journey so special. But what we'll do is we'll just start off with 20 breaths to get ourselves centered, to get us focused, and to also just tune in a little bit to what we're looking at, what we might be working with. Just tune in energetically with the energy of this retreat, and then we'll go into talking about it as well as answering any questions that you have. Good, so let's all close our eyes, and we'll just start off with a long deep breath through the nose or mouth, and then 4 short breaths, and following this pattern now. One more long deep breath. And just keep your eyes closed now. Just stay inwardly focused so that you can connect into your body, into this feeling of safety. Feeling safe in your body, feeling safe in your physical space, and also just letting go now of any tensions, any ways in which you're holding on or resisting, just letting go of those so that you can be present in this moment in your body. Remembering that breath work is very much about marrying the spiritual world with the physical, spiritualizing the body, spiritualizing our experience in our lives, in the world. And when we relax, when we are open, we can see and experience the world so much more clearly. And now let's connect into our emotions, the emotions of the last 24 hours, the emotions of the last week, just the prominent emotions that have been sitting with you, be they pleasant or unpleasant. Just let your emotions be, feel them. Just take a deep breath now to clear any of the heavy emotions, any of the resistances. And just making a way for openness, for joy, making way for the truest you, the you that's beyond the fleeting day-to-day emotions, and tuning into the true you, what it feels like to be you in your essence. And now letting go of any other thoughts, preoccupations, just so that you can be clear and present. And now, as we integrate body, emotions, and mind, we call in our soul aspect, our spirit aspect. So take a deep breath. And in taking this deep breath, we just connect to self, beyond the ego, beyond the body, beyond current life circumstances. That is the eternal you, the eternal self. So feel this perhaps as a tingling in your body, or an aliveness in the air around you. Keep breathing this heightened awareness of your soul into your body. Just filling up with the joy of being, the joy of yourself. So now we're going to go into a brief visualization. So I'm going to count from 5 to 1, and on 1 you'll just find yourself in a very beautiful place in nature. And this place represents an earthly paradise, a place where you are supported in every way, where your soul, your spirit is supported. You can be the truest you. So upon 1, you will see and feel and sense yourself in this earthly paradise, perhaps in the forest or by the sea. 5, with each number relaxing more. 4, 3, just opening all your senses. 2 and 1. See yourself in a place of lush vegetation, blue of the sky, perhaps flowers, colors of birds of paradise. Feel your feet on the cool earth and gentle breeze blowing through your hair perhaps. Hear the sounds of singing birds and running water. Rustle of the wind in the trees. So just feeling very safe, comfortable. And although this is not necessarily a specific place that you're visualizing, this is a place where you are supported and safe. This is the sort of space we will be creating in Bali, of being close to nature, of also being very close to the sacred. So in the safe space now, just become aware of your soul, your higher self, walking towards you. Maybe you start off by seeing your soul in the distance. Maybe it starts off blurry or vague, but as you get closer, just focus in on the eyes, beautiful, loving eyes. And although, of course, your soul is always in you and present around you for the purposes of this meditation, see your soul outside of you, personified with you, supporting your growth. So as you open now more to your soul, open as well more to this upcoming journey to Bali, in which you'll be honoring yourself, your body. But above all, we'll be honoring and living the sacred, where your soul's voice is more present, more powerful. So, in the presence of your soul now, just get a sense of who you could be, who you could become in a place where the sacred is even more present, in a place where you can fully express your spirituality. Given that we're going to a land that is exotic in many senses, represents the unknown, get a sense of how you can be someone else, not hampered by your normal day-to-day life, not hampered by the input from the world around you in the conventional way that you're used to. Just getting a sense of magic in the air, getting a sense of a sacred presence with you. Maybe you feel this sacred presence intensifying now, perhaps as some sort of divinity or archetype, or perhaps just as the presence of your soul or of the land. Maybe it's some sort of presence that wants to communicate with you or make themselves known to you. Perhaps it's an archetype that you work with on your journey to Bali. Maybe this presence, if it's showing itself, is either a presence that you know or otherwise it's unknown, mysterious. And if that's the case, just give it some time and space to show itself. Open your senses to new ways of understanding, picking up the energies coming to you. So we're making space now for this presence to show itself, making space for you to transform yourself on this trip to Bali, and for you to bring back a treasure, an inner treasure, a transformation. So feel that, feel what that could be. Feel who you could be given this work that you'll be doing, given this immersion in the magical and mysterious culture of Bali. And just get a sense of what you would like to work on, perhaps, or what magic you would like to create. On the one hand, your personal work could be clearing out old stuff, but on the other hand, it's also reaching upwards, inwards, outwards, to meet the divine more intensely. So maybe you've got both of those aspects that you focus on. But if you were to have a vision or an insight as to the truest you, the highest you that you can aspire to and become, feel that energy now. Feel that presence within you. now just thank your soul, your higher self, thank this presence. Get this feeling of what's to come, to stay with you, to inspire you, to carry you in the weeks and months ahead before we meet in Bali. In a moment I'll count from 1 to 3, and on 3 you'll just open your eyes and be back, still relaxed, still open, bringing this treasure and this insight with you. 1, giving thanks. 2, feeling your body. 3, opening your eyes, stretching, back here in the room, present in the now. Good. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. So we'll start off by me talking about the facilitation that I'll run, and then we'll hand over to Patricia, and she'll talk about some of the logistical aspects. Of course, our journey starts on the 2nd of February, but we do strongly suggest that you arrive on the 1st if possible. You will be able to stay at the house on the 1st, and then we would like to start sort of midday, a little bit after, on the 2nd. And then we'll go through to the following Sunday, I think it is. On the 12th, you'll be able to leave. So we'll have 10 days of togetherness, processing. The basic structure of my facilitation will be, on the one hand, you will have a manual, a personal processing manual that you can work with. And that process will be based on the 8 directions of temple guardians, direction guardians, related to east, southeast, south, etc. And then the 9th direction is the center, which is related to Shiva. So each one of those different directions have a guardian god or goddess, and that story of the circle of the directions, of course, the journey of the sun from, let's say, dawn, through to the zenith of the day, to nightfall, and then to the darkness of night. That journey, of course, is also a hero's journey. It's a journey of discovery, it's a journey of maturity, and ultimately of rebirth. So what we're going to be doing on this journey, which is a slightly different touch, I call this the magician's journey, is that instead of going with the normal cycle from east to south to west, which is sunset through the night back to east, we're going to go the other way. So we're going to actually go through the night first in order to go to the daytime at the end. And the reason why I want to explore this approach is that it is the approach of alchemy. It is the approach of the magician. I'm sure all of you have already looked at the tarot, for example, or have looked at the hero's journey in general. And when we follow the direction of the sun, normally we are working with the pilgrim's journey or the fool's journey of the tarot. When we go the other way around, we're following the magician's journey. And the reason why we're doing it this way is that we go into the darkness first. We go into the let's say the struggle with our own shadow, or with the shadows represented in the world out there. And then we have more time to experience the light at the end. So we kind of are sweeping aside the the challenges that we need to work with. Of course, those challenges are the kind of dark soil, the fertile soil of our being that we will be exploring first. But I think as we, go into an age of greater enlightenment, an age of greater awakening, it becomes important to give most of our emphasis to, yes, first of all, working with that stuff we need to clear, but then going into the light and having more time to actually explore the light and to rehearse who it is that we are becoming in the world. Just like the pilgrimage to Santiago that I run, which is a 3-week process, this 10-day process is, it gives us a lot of time to rehearse and become someone new. Not only are we in a completely different setting, we're in a retreat setting, so we don't have the day-to-day stuff, but we are in a completely different culture, a very unfamiliar culture for many people, a completely different religion, that is the state religion or the cultural religion. And of course, the great beauty of Bali is that the sacredness is very alive day to day in a lot of the awareness of the people from waking up until nightfall. So it's a very powerful way for us to actually see and experience and observe how people live the sacred in a very physical way. Of course, there's the contemplative way and the meditational way and the going to temples, but the very acts of making offerings and having a very alive temple culture is something very different to what we know in the West. So that will be a support for us in our own spiritual exploration. We'll be doing this processing journey that I have designed first of all around the mythology of Hinduism, of the 9 directions, and where possible we will align some of those daily directions, guardians we were working with some of the temples that we visit. But basically the structure for the actual retreat will be, of course, on the one hand, working through this mythology, discussing the mythology, as a group, working with how this reflects in our own journey, our own inner process. But then each day we will do breathwork sessions, either 1 breathwork or 2 breathwork sessions per day. And where possible, we will also go to either a temple or a place in nature that is conducive to our spiritual growth and our spiritual work. And where possible, we will get, blessings from the priests, or we will do purifications in some of the temples where they do have water purifications. And in a few places, in a few of the temples, we'll also be able to do some breath work, either seated, or possibly lying down. Again, we need to just see and respect what the actual logistics will be in the temple. Some of the temples Patricia has shared are open to us doing breath work there, and we might be able to sort of go to a dedicated space where we can do some breath work, where of course the energy is so pulsing and alive and vibrant, and doing the breath work will make it even more intense. So those breathwork sessions that we'll be doing in the temples will be one very specific type of energy, maybe more directed towards the living divinities, the living archetypes. And then the other breathwork processes we'll be doing will be in the home we will be staying in Sukawati. And it's a very beautiful home. It's a retreat center. There's a pool there, there's a yoga space. So we'll be doing different types of breath work. We'll be doing rebirthing style, we'll be doing holotropic style, we'll be doing water breath work. And those deeper, more sort of processing based breathwork techniques will be geared to our own inner journey. The sort of, let's say, psychological, spiritual aspect. And then our work in the temples will be more the devotional aspect, in Sanskrit, that is the bhakti, the devotional aspect. And that is where we kind of really get the energy that the temple cultivates and holds and is dedicated to. So that, of course, doesn't mean that we need to, convert to Hinduism in order to do this work. The Hinduism, it's a very beautiful religion, and I think it's a very open and inclusive religion, and it's also a religion that still keeps those archetypes very alive. Those of you who know me know that I have a deep love for mythology, Greek mythology especially. But the Hinduism and the ancient Greek mythology are very much in alignment. They come from a very common root culturally on the one hand, but also on the other hand, so-called polytheistic religions, pagan religions, are very much about the, let's say, personification of different natural forces and energies, as well as different personality characteristics and traits. So on the one hand, we'll be taking a deep dive into Hinduism. On the other hand, that Hinduism is also very relatable to the archetypes that we may already know. And you can really choose how you want to work with this. You can really go fully into the bhakti aspect, the devotional aspect of Hinduism, which I suggest, but also, very much understanding how the different spiritualities fit in together. And for me, my understanding and what I'm really hoping to work with personally is to see how that worship, that bhakti is alive, and how the honoring of the gods and goddesses in a very kind of spiritual, practical way makes that energy so alive. So we'll have that, spiritual aspect very much related to Bali itself, but then we'll also have a processing aspect, which the breath work will intensify, which the process that I've designed will also, bring out for you in your journey. So in terms of that, in terms of the fact that this is going to be a magician's journey as opposed to, let's say, a pilgrim's or a fool's journey, it is important to reflect between now and, when we get to Bali, on what magic it is that you want to create in your life. What do you want to live in your life after Bali? I do see this sort of, very intensive retreat where we have a lot of time to immerse ourselves in the process. I do see this sort of retreat as basically almost like a reset. It gives us time and space to bring in the new, to rehearse the new that we want to live and be. And then afterwards we can live that, and we can function as a new being, as a transformed human, more according to and in alignment with our potential, our soul potential. So, if you want to think about that and reflect on that for the next few months or weeks, 7 weeks before we get there, that's really important. Maybe you even want to do a little bit of reading about Hinduism and see which divinity you feel drawn to. We will be doing very specific work and processes with that once we're there. But if you want to start looking into that, you can start with that. But also you can work with very general archetypes. It doesn't need to be either Hindu archetypes or classical Greek archetypes. It can just be archetypes of the sort of person that you want to become. And how that might look is, maybe there's a historical figure that you admire, or a current personality that you admire, that you feel they represent more of who you would like to be. So those historical figures, be they writers or artists or thinkers, whatever, are also archetypes. So that could be your starting point. And from there, we can either work that back to mythology, or we can find the ways for you to live and integrate that archetype better. So I do have a schedule that I will share a little bit later regarding our, our sort of day-to-day process. That schedule can't really at this stage be 100% defined, because we're still figuring out, which temples are going to be open on which days, and there are many religious holidays and festivals. So we need to align, our work with what's happening in the world out there. And, so therefore we're going to need to make some adjustments. So, any schedules are going to be, it will be necessary to adapt those to our day-to-day needs. And also, of course, we'll adapt to how the group feels, day to day. Maybe after a few days of intense breath work, the group just really can't face another deep breath work session. But, I've sort of designed a layout, and then from there we can adapt it. But again, the basic principle or the basic structure will be usually in the mornings, going either to a temple or a place in nature. Then we'll have lunch. Where possible, we'll kind of have the afternoons off, where you can either just stay at home and process and relax and rest, or otherwise, if you want to do some little short excursions, either alone or with a few other people in the group. We are quite close to Ubud and a few other places. So, it will be possible for you to do your own excursions as well. And then in the evenings, usually starting at about 5 or 6, we'll do another breathwork or other processing technique journey. So on some days we'll do 2 breathworks. On other days, when we visit places, we'll maybe do more sort of seated style breathwork processes, in which we won't freak out the locals in going crazy in public places. But we'll do some sort of more meditative style breathworks on our sort of group excursions, and then the evenings we can kind of sort of let rip and go fully into the deeper processing work. And I think that kind of covers my facilitation journey. Okay, I'm just going to hand over to Patricia now.
Okay, so I'll start by just letting you guys know that Hinduism is a bit different in Bali than anything you might have studied from India. It's kind of a, a combination of their traditional animism, and they've got some of their own gods. So you can find some of that information under the FAQ section on my website.
I'll also, just on that note, I'll also start a Signal group, so that we can actually start sort of getting together on that Signal group and sharing information.
And I love that you're really focusing on the theme of magic, because it's so alive in all of Indonesia. Some of it light, some of it dark. In Bali, it's mostly light magic. And I will be scheduling a session with a shaman for each of you during one of the break days. So, one of the break times. So one day for each of you, you'll have an appointment, okay, during one of your break times. And so that'll be really interesting, because he's pretty good. As far as the logistics, so we're going to be in a town off of the East Coast called Sukawati, and we're going to be at a house called Bali Tri. She is a triathlon, so she's kind of got it kind of geared. That's why she has such a nice swimming pool. The swimming pool has these machines that you can practice with, swim against, and it's also the minimal chlorine, because she's got some electrodes in there or something in the system that kill things without putting a lot of chemicals or making it too salty. So it'll be nice for the breath work. She just is in the process of finishing up having a new yoga studio built in the front. So we'll have that if we want to work inside. Outside is a very nice yard around the pool with grass, and we can bring the mats out there. All of the mats and pillows are provided, from the yoga studio, so you don't have to bring any of that. There is a van that's part of our package with the house that can take you to Ubud or can take you down to Sanur, which is like a beach town. And that is all inclusive if you're going within the parameters that she offers it for. And so during break times when we have an hour and a half, 2 hours, it can run up to 7 people can fit in it. Now, if you're coming from the airport with that, we can send the van out. There is a small cost. It can only take 4 people with luggage coming from the airport, but she's only charging $16 from the airport to the house, which is a really good deal, actually. And that way, you've got somebody and you're safe and they're not going to try to overcharge you. And the house package includes your breakfast every morning. And I'll arrive in Indonesia on the 17th, and I'm going to meet with the caterers to check out their food and, taste test, and we're going to get the menu all ready. So the food will be primarily vegetarian, but not primarily vegan. A lot of times with the vegetarian food, they'll put egg in there. So we'll need any information from you about any dietary restrictions or allergies you have, because we can require the meals to be vegan for people. There will be a couple of days where we're going to offer some chicken or meat, just because there are people who just really feel that their body needs that sometimes. So, and then the house, the way it's set up, we'll have a staff there. So your room will get cleaned, and if you want to order things in between meals, like a smoothie or a snack or something, that will be something that you can order and pay for separately yourself. So just to let you know, you may want to consider having some cash to tip the staff when you leave, because they will be changing your towels and linens and so on. And they're very nice. I still have to check if they speak English, but if they don't, I can always translate for you, because when I met them, I wasn't speaking English with them. So on the days where we might be out during the day, they can provide a packaged lunch for us. So we're all good on food, accommodation. It will be 2 people to a room. There are several rooms that the beds are double, but those rooms also have a sofa bed in them. So if we fill up, you may have a room partner that you have to switch back and forth and, share the bed back in the sofa bed, but they're comfortable. All your, all your bath towels, of course, are provided, and then the pool towels, you don't need to bring anything like that. I have 2 drivers we're taking vans rather than a bus, because it's just easier to get around to some of the more remote areas in Bali in a smaller vehicle. It's a very mountainous island, and it would just take so much more time driving in a bus. So I've got 2 drivers with 2 very nice, safe, big vans lined up. And so on the days where we're going out, we'll all be, what do they call it? Caravanning together. And as far as the locations, there are so many places to see in Bali that it was really hard to narrow it down. But I went back over there in September just to do like a run through places that we could go that were similar to the things you're going to see on the touristic routes, but they're not crowded with tourists. Okay. So we're going to be going to places like I'll tell you the mother temple, but Saki is always going to have a lot of people there because that's the mother temple. It is the most holy site in Bali. All other temples are oriented to Basake, and it's up in the northeast. Okay, but the other sites we're going to go to are like Menengang, which is where we can do a Melekut ceremony. That is a water purification, and that is usually very empty. In that place, they do have rooms with changing rooms with lockers and sarongs for you. So you can change into a sarong to go in and do the water ceremony. And I haven't mentioned this part to Jacques yet, but he might want to consider doing some of the um, water breath work there. That might be an option. Um, we're going to go to Gunung Kawi, which is right near Menengang, and it is an archaeological site. It's very beautiful, hilly, very visually stunning. Um, a lot of greenery, a lot of up and down stairs. So get yourself ready for the heat. It's hot there. We'll be going to Pura Taman Ayun, which is a World UNESCO site. It is the biggest water temple in Southeast Asia. So in Bali, most of the temples are involving water. Water is so sacred there. And so that may be one place where we can find a place to sit down and do some breath work there. And they also do a daily barong show there, like the dance. The barong is the struggle between good and evil. The barong dance. So, and it's like a two-person costume. It's quite interesting. And then we'll be going to Kampuan Sala, which is another place that we can do a Melekut ceremony, and Sangay Monkey Forest, which is it's a temple complex with a forest of nutmeg trees. And we can get a blessing from the priest in the temple there. And then there is a area back in the woods that has been cleared out and made for meditating. We could do some breath work there. And we can also go down. It's a lot of steps. It's like 100 steps through the forest. It's beautiful. And at the bottom of that is a raging river with very large boulders. I can envision us like doing some breath work down there. And that's also got a very small Melukat ceremony section. It's got the pipes coming out of the water out of the mountain to do a purification. So those are like some of the main areas. And of course, we're also going to do a snorkeling trip down off of the coast of Sanur. That will be going onto a boat, and they take you out in the morning, and you get that in the water, and you wait for this very large pod of manta ray to swim through. And it's got a lot of very colorful fish. It's a very nice place to do some snorkeling. The company that I've chosen, their boats also do diving. They like on the same boat as snorkeling. So if you are a serious diver and you're already, you know what you're doing, a certified whatever they call it. I haven't done diving. I'm kind of a chicken. I do a lot of snorkeling, but you can choose to pay a little more money and be on the diving group. And they go down with you they have guides with you the whole time in the water on the snorkeling and the diving side. And there are a couple of other places that I have in mind that I need to just check logistically if we can put them in on the days that we're doing something in the area. It's kind of complicated to make everything fit together in Bali because the roads kind of come like this, like a hand all from down, Ubud is about here, and then you have just roads coming up like fingers. So it's too much to go from one finger to the other in one day. So I'm still like trying to work that out with my driver. Oh, I just want to mention as far as like Jacques said, sometimes the schedule may be in flux because there may be something like snorkeling or going to the monkey forest where we want to go down to the river, and we may wake up and it's raining. So we may have to just switch that for another day, and, flip things around. So the important thing is just to be flexible. We will be going to some dances. Some that I'm recommending we see are the Ketchak Fire Dance and the Lagong dances are like the young girls dance parts of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. The Barong we already mentioned. And I think really what would fit really well with the whole shadow magician light and dark is the Wayan puppet shows. They do a shadow puppet shows there. And so I'm going to see if we can, Jacques and I can talk about what day and fit that in. And then as far as like Jacques was talking about how the spirituality is part of everyday life, every moment of everyday life in Bali. And if you look on the website, there's a lot of information about the spirituality, the Chanang offerings, that we're also going to have classes, like a class on how to learn how to do the Chanang and the meaning behind them, so that every day, and we'll provide supplies. So every day, if you want to make one and put it out in front of your door, just to show the idea of the Chanang is not to the gods. It's not like, oh, this is to placate the gods. What it is it's to show the spirits of the land, the unembodied people, they call them. Some of them call them the impossible people, but they believe very much that there are spirits around us. Some of them spirits of the trees and the other plants. Some of them are just like they're just beings that provide for us and supply us and protect us. And those are to those folks. So that the Chanang is a reminder to them that you recognize them and you're feeding them, because you're not just taking, you're giving back. Everything in Bali is about balance. Balance is probably the number one word they use when they talk about their spirituality and their way of life. And so I just wanted to provide you folks with a way to honor that while you're on the land there. So that will be part of it. And then on the website, you can find some information under the FAQ section on the family compound. Because the reason I included that is it really gives an insight to how Balinese see life. Every house in the family compound is oriented in a certain direction depending on what generation lives in it. And they have a family temple, and every day they get up and they pray at their own family temple before they start their day. And when you're in Bali, you will see the Chanang everywhere. And don't feel bad if you accidentally step on them. It's, if you see it, and you can snoop around it, but they understand that there's so many on the ground everywhere that they're in every doorway all the time. And then they'll switch them out in the middle of the day so they don't get really offended if you accidentally step on them. But you can find all of that information on the website. The FAQ section has a lot of that. And then it also has just some of the logistics about going to Indonesia. You can get your visa right there in the airport for $35. It's very easy. You can change money in the airport. You can buy a SIM card for your phone in the airport. And if you forget to do that when you're in the airport, there are kiosks all over in Bali to buy SIM cards. You will have Wi-Fi at the house, so if you don't really care about staying connected when you're away from the house, you don't need that. But that is available, and it's easy, and they welcome foreigners to do it. Just read that section on the logistics of going to Indonesia. If you're flying directly into Bali, it's really easy. I think even the Jakarta airport is not hard to navigate. If you find a flight that's cheaper to Jakarta and then you want to hop a flight over to Bali, it's very easy to just they have like a sky train in the airport, and you just take the sky train over to the domestic terminal. And sometimes that's the way I do it because it saves me money, as opposed, and sometimes time. Sometimes you see these flights going to Bali and they're really long. But if you do it to Jakarta and then book up, then there are a lot of them leaving all day between Jakarta and Bali. So if you do it that way, you may save yourself hours of waiting in the airport there if it's a flight that stops in Jakarta. But once you're in Bali, it's easy. And if you let us know when you're coming, we can send the van for you. If you choose to take a taxi from the airport, I really recommend you do it from one of the taxi kiosks in the airport. You can pay them right there, and then um, they'll walk you out to the proper driver so that you know the price, you've got a receipt, and you're getting in with the right guy. So, oh, the packing list. The packing list is also on the FAQ, and it's pretty comprehensive. But if you have any other questions about things you might or might not need, you can always ask me if there's anything that I've forgotten.
Maybe just talk about what people should wear in temples.
Yes, and that is on the there is a page on the FAQ on Balinese etiquette. In the temples and in general, when you go away from the beach or the pool, just be dressed. In general, in non-Western countries, even though we see it a lot, like I know in America we see it a lot, guys walking around with no shirt on. That's not acceptable at all in Indonesia, including Bali. So you should always have your shoulders covered when you go into the temple, and then you will always be required to wear a sarong. Okay. Don't worry about that. We'll have one for you. And if you're ever out on your own and you go into a temple and you don't have a sarong, they always have them provided. And often they'll give you a sash to tie it up with too. So just to be, very modest in general with your behavior and your clothing and your demeanor with other people. It's just the way of life there. People are very polite. Um, People don't generally, even when people don't like a situation, you don't hear them raise their voice, and if you're haggling in the markets, just keep in mind to be respectful because you're in their country and you're not part of their cultural system, so they expect you to pay more for something. They'll give you, if they say it's 100,000 and you go, well, can you give it to me for 70,000? They'll talk you up to 90. They expect that. But I have seen some foreigners just get kind of brutal. And that's just not, I don't expect that from you guys, but just in general, to be modest and kind and gentle. Never hand anybody anything with your left hand. Never point with your left hand. The left hand is used for personal hygiene, so it's really considered a sign of disrespect, and sometimes people might take it as an actual like that you're intending to insult them if you're using your left hand handing them something. So just try to remember that. And that's a pretty basic thing in a lot of Asian and Middle Eastern countries. Don't touch anybody on the top of the head, even children, especially children, because they are the most pure, honored creatures on the earth, are the children. And I know in Western culture, people think it's a sign of affection to tousle a kid's hair on the top of their head, but that is the seat of the soul. You never touch somebody on the top of the head. But you can find all of that information on the FAQ section. So take some time to look through that. I'm adding stuff all the time to that. I added some just basic Indonesian words. You won't really need it unless you're out on your own, on a break or something. It might be helpful for shopping, but some of us like to just kind of know a little of the language anyway, even if we don't have to. Okay. Because I did notice, and I'll just say this for folks who might be watching the recording. Um, I've been watching the flight on Korea Air, which is coupled with Delta, go down every day. It's it it's down about $300 or $400 from what it was when you and I talked to Alex before you bought yours. She got a really good deal.
Yeah, I got
But
it.
just yeah, for anyone who hasn't gotten a ticket yet, it's a good idea to get it soon. Um, and Korea Air is a good one, and they have a good time. It's only like 23 hours and 50 minutes, I think, for me from where I am. Um, so, just it's hit or miss whether you find a good one. So it's a good idea to start looking. And anything that I might have forgotten to talk about now, you can find in the FAQ section. And if there's some question that comes up for you later and you don't find it there, please feel free to contact me. Okay. And I try to watch and be responsive within a day of any emails or texts. Or like Jacques going to start up the signal so that one is easy to keep track of.
Yes.
Mm.
And we will also ask that people pay deposits as well in the
Oh,
next
yes.
weeks. That'll be
The
great.
important
So
part.
we'll provide information for that. We can either do Zelle, or otherwise, Patricia's also got a credit card system that if you do want to pay on your credit card, you can do so, and that also means that the payments can kind of go through later. So there are various ways to pay the deposits. And then also, as Patricia mentioned, well, basically everything on the trip is already included in the price, except obviously extra food that you're going to be having outside, or in extra activities you'll be doing outside of the retreat. But basically everything is included. But of course, you do want to have some extra money for either going to the market and buying artworks and crafts, or if you want to do something on your own steam. So it's probably a good idea to have some cash in dollars, and also change some of your money into local currency. Anything else about that, Patricia? I think.
Yeah, I would like to have the deposit by the 15th of this month. Okay. Um, on the website, you can pay with credit card, Stripe, PayPal. Although PayPal, if you can do Stripe, I prefer it because PayPal, I think, is a little more expensive. Or you can do a Wise transfer, and all of that is available on there. Um, and then I would like the remaining portion by the 5th of January. And if you're not able to do that either through any of those payment methods, contact Jacques or I personally, and we'll see we'll work something out with you. The credit card, um, it may be a good way for some people because that defers the payment even longer than transferring cash on the 5th. Also, you get points on your credit card. Um, so speaking of the credit card, I do recommend you look and see if you have several credit cards, which one gives you the best travel coverage, because a lot of them will give you travel insurance. But I also really recommend that you buy in travel insurance, just because some of those they'll have like a few really good things on the credit card, but there's some holes in it. And the travel insurance is usually not expensive when you're only going to be gone a couple of weeks. So I really, really recommend you do that. Um, yeah, and then as far as money, yeah, it's a good idea to have cash if you go into like some of the more upscale art stores they'll take credit cards. But if you go into an open market, or sometimes there'll be little markets kind of stationed outside of temples, and those folks only take cash. And then if there are apps like Uber there that you can pay your drivers with a credit card, but a lot of the drivers don't use that. So if for example, if you're using the van coming from the house, you'll need to pay that to the house in cash probably. And then if you want to do any sightseeing on your own and you want to hire a driver, it's a good idea to have some cash. There are places to change dollars all over in Ubud. That's very easy. So, and at the airport.
Excellent. Good.
I have a question. Jacques, there's a price discrepancy in the retreat, because in your email it said $35.50, but on the website it's $39.90.
Thank you for bringing that up, Michael. So, the price that I'm advertising it, that I sell it at, is $4,000. But for Jacques' people, we're selling it at $35.5.
Okay.
So there is a discount code for you.
Okay.
And that is BW14.
BW14.
We'll put that on the recording.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that. That must have stopped your heart a little when you saw that.
Yeah, I was.
And
no worries.
yeah, you can also just reach out to Patricia if if you need to just reconfirm or recheck that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any problem using it, just stop the transaction and contact me. And one of my pet peeves with websites is when you have to Google how to contact them. So I have put my contact information at the bottom of every page. So it should be easy to contact me. And then once Jacques gets the signal up, that's going to be the quickest way for me to see it, because, that'll pop up on my phone wherever I am.
Right. Yes, I'll get that going today.
Okay. Thank you, Jacques.
Any other questions, anyone? Any other comments? Good.
Well, I would just like to say that I'm really, really excited about this trip, and I'm really honored to have Jacques doing breath work with us there. If you've never been to Bali before, I can guarantee you're going to be blown away. Just the feeling there. For one thing, I'm a real water person. I am a ceremonialist for water ceremonies. And just the feeling, you feel the energy of just being surrounded by water when you're on this island out in the ocean like this. And the people there are you just really feel it. I mean, it is true that how you think and feel creates your reality. And you do feel like you're in a different reality when you're in a place where people for thousands of years have been holding sacred the land they live on. And that with everything they do in their life, there's an interaction. I mean, even if you have a few trees on your land, you put a skirt on them. You'll see all these black and white and red and white checkered skirts on the trees. They honor everything as though it's as much a person as we are. And it is such a different reality. And I'm just so excited to be like having you guys come with me there and just be able to share that. And I think you're all going to love the Balinese people. They're just beautiful. So.
I can't wait. I'm very excited. And so we'll stay in touch, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, for signing up, for making this trip so special, exciting. And we'll, of course, stay in touch in the meantime.
Thank you, Jacques.
Thanks,
you guys.